Satellite link established. Satellite link established.
Hey, welcome once again to another episode of the Amazing Life Show. My name is Mizame, and this is your first time watching. Welcome. Alright, so as you all know that this channel actually started in March 2020, and we've been doing a series of very exciting stuff such as tutorials, workshops, online workshops, webinars, and now we've actually evolved into something else altogether. It's become a photography talk show for photographers by photographers, and this is all possible thanks to you guys who've been tuning in since the inception of this program. Now, of course, for those of you who have been tuning in all this time, you know now that we stream twice a week. There goes my voice. And we've been having a lot of wonderful guests coming to join us on the weekly episodes. And some of our guests come from very far away lands, and today is no different, of course. So this is really awesome. My wife just said redeem hydrate, so I need to drink water. Yeah, my voice is kind of kaput these days. Been a little bit down under the weather, but that's because I've been lacking sleep. So how's everyone today? I hope everyone's doing okay. We're still pretty much well, some of the countries are still under lockdown. Some of us are suffering from second wave. Singapore is taking a very cautious approach. We're still in phase 2 of circuit breaker. There's still no update whether we've moved up to phase 3 or whether we've fallen back to phase 1. Yeah, so things are still on a dicey note right now. So the stream is the stream is probably gonna stay on for quite some time. Hey Dustin, how's it going? How are you? So I know that there was one episode I mentioned that the stream might stop because of if the lockdown is over, and then we proceed back to doing normal stuff like streams, like gaming instead. I don't know, but I kind of enjoy doing this, so most likely I'll just carry on, I guess. But I will probably implement some changes, like for example stream days. Okay, right now I'm streaming on Tuesdays and Saturdays. I'm thinking of having a shift from Saturday to Friday instead, and in between I might do live retouching. So if you guys are bored in the evening and just want to come on and chill out and ask me anything about photography while I do some retouching and editing on some of my works, then I think that'll be quite interesting, right? If you find that interesting, or if you don't like it, let me know in the chat. Okay, so anyway, as always, I just want to share with you guys my socials. So here
Satellite link established.
is my Good Bot Friday, sharing my social media channels. And as always, I just want to share with you guys the pictures themselves. Okay, so these are some of my works. This is my website, my portfolio. I'm hosted on SmartMark, so SmartMark has been very awesome for the past few years. I've been on SmartMark platform for some time now, and of course, if you guys drop by my website, you can check out my portfolio. You can see my personal works, you can see my client works as well. I'm thinking of revitalizing my portrait sessions series, because right now at least I can go to a studio and shoot in a studio. And of course, if you guys want to, you can actually head over to the A-MEZ-ING store. You can buy my prints from SmartMark directly. I have not been updating my website, to be honest, but you can still buy some of my stuff to show support for the channel and to show support for me as well. And of course, if you want to, you can read some of my blog entries. Again, my blog has been collecting a lot of cobwebs, but there are some very interesting articles in there that are quite popular with some of the readers. Like for example, some of my reviews, and I think, let me just see whether I can find it here. Tips and tricks. There we go. Tips and tricks. So there's one particular article that is quite popular with the readers. It's this one over here about gear. Where is it? Oh man, where is it? Where'd it go? I think it's not tagged. That's weird. It was tagged. Never mind. What I can do, however, wait, where is it? Let me see. Oh, it's not here. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go manual. It could be archived. But yeah, if you look at the 3-month measurement gear, you can see there's this blog article called Measurement Gear Purchase 3 months rule. I've been getting a lot of questions on when you should buy gear and things like that. This blog article actually tells you everything you need to know. So it's just an idea of how you can save money and still get the gear that you need. Not the gear that you want, gear that you need for your photo shoots, and how you can actually grow and expand your business while still maintaining the kind of gear that you need to make sure your visions come true. All right, so this is something very important. Never overspend more than you can afford, and never overspend on things that you don't really need to use. Okay, this is my Facebook page. If you guys check this out, anytime I have an update with regards to the Amazing Life show, or if I've got my works up, I will share them over here. Recently, I've been looking into doing behind the scenes videos for other photographers as well, because it's kind of fun. I do link a bit of some articles here as well. For example, the quick guide on how to adhere to COVID-19 safety protocols during your photo shoot. This is applicable to Singapore, but I think if it's applicable to you in your country, like Malaysia, for example, I can see there are some Malaysians joining in on the chat. And by all means, apply them. All right. This is very important because right now we still have the COVID-19 virus pandemic going around globally. Just because there's low cases doesn't mean there's no case. All right, so just be safe, take care of yourself, and make sure that whoever is in your shoot are all safe as well. Anyway, speaking of Malaysians, I can see there are some friends from Malaysia joining in. Thank you so much. If you guys are from whichever country, just introduce yourself. Let me know in the chat where you're from, and I'll do a shout out, because it's always nice to make new friends who are like-minded in terms of the photography community. And this is of course my Twitter profile, so if you guys want, you can follow me on Twitter as well. I've been watching the Umbrella Academy. Lovely. No spoilers, I'm still not done yet, but please, if you want, you can just feel free to follow me on Twitter and have a good time looking at some of the posts that I make. Sometimes I post useful stuff, sometimes I post reviews on the shows that I watch, sometimes I just want to be human and just post photos of cats. And of course, this is my YouTube channel. If you guys missed out on some of my VODs or some of my episodes of the Amazing Life Show, you can watch them over here as well. There's a playlist called Amazing Life Show on Twitch. And for those of you guys who are into cosplay photography or into photo shoots in general and just want to see behind the scenes videos of how I do my photo shoots, I do have a playlist for behind the scenes here as well. So do check it out. All right. I have Instagram. I mean, who doesn't? All right. So I have become more active on Instagram again lately. So you can check out my Instagram account here as well. I don't really respond to DMs that much. I do try to respond as much as I can, but yeah. If you want to reach out to me, you can always reach out to me by email or by by Twitter. Okay, it's more direct and much faster. And this is of course Twitch. If you guys look at the about section here, you can see that there's quite a few things that's going on. I'm now part of this team called Photography. So if you click on it, you can actually see other photographers on Twitch who stream, and some of them are actually streaming from the United States of America, Europe's countries in Europe, UK, things like that. We even have folks in Australia as well. So it's like a global network of photographers on Twitch. So if you guys want to, you can connect with us and just follow and watch. You know, if you're on different time zones, you can at least be kept accompanied during your lockdown, or when you're stuck at home and have nothing better to do. Just hang out with some photographers as they stream their stuff, or when they play games, and you can just interact with them. All right. And of course, as always, if you guys want to show support for the channel, There are two ways of doing so. One of them is of course using razor tip stream to actually buy razor shards through Razor Gold to basically show your support for the stream by tips and donations. Okay, so get your phone and use the camera phone to scan the QR code over there to be brought over to the Razor tip stream page, and that's where you can actually show your support for the channel directly. Now, one shard is 1 cent in US dollar cents currency, so 100 shards is 100 cents, which is just $1 USD. It's very cheap. But the best part about this is that if you guys actually show support for the stream using this method, over time you accumulate what we call Razor Silver points, and these Razor Silver points can be used to redeem any of this epic stuff in your Razor store. So for example, if you have games that you're looking out for that you want to buy off Razor store using the Razor Silver, you can do that as well. Or if you want to go a little bit more hardcore, you can actually go for all these gear on the Razor store. So you can actually redeem keyboards, mice, headsets, and you know, recently I actually redeemed this guy over here. This is my Razor Hydrator. It's a nice flask. Love it. Okay, it's very sexy and it's empty. I'm still in process of trying to do a photo shoot. It's just that I've been delaying it. I have not even watched it yet. It's still fresh out of the box. Hey Michelle, how's it going in Down Under? Good to see you. Good to see you. So anyway, who do we have here for our guest this evening? Okay, we're gonna have Lillian Liu. This is her website. She is a very talented individual. I swear it. You know, I when I saw her works for the first time, I just went like, wow. Okay, it's amazing to actually see her works. She is a very multi-talented person. Look at her. She is a pianist, a photographer, retoucher, and model. For me, I'm just you know, starstruck by someone like her. Okay, she is capable of doing so many things. Let's check out her website. Let's click over here and see what's going on inside. There we go. Look at her works. They're absolutely fabulous. She's got this ethereal look about her works. There's this something captivating. Once you take a look at some of her shots, you just go like, wow, you know, it's fantasy, it's surreal, it's just amazing, brilliant stuff. And let me just scroll. Okay, my mouse is not working. Okay, there we go. Right, so she's got a very, very beautiful approach to her work. It's almost magical. Yeah, like what Miss Deza said, magical. Michelle says, what a woman! Yep, she is so multi-talented. It's just insane how she actually comes up with all these concepts and then turn them from her vision into reality. It's absolutely stunning. And you know what? It's crazy, right? She's also a model as well, so she stands behind the camera and in front of the camera, and it's what can she not do? I don't know. And we're gonna find out today. We're gonna find out what is it that she can't do, because I'm truly very curious, because this lady can do everything, okay, front and behind the lens. It's insane. And she's also a pianist, so she actually plays music as well. You know, the only music I can play is whatever is on Spotify, but she is able to play piano really well. I can't play them right now because it could trigger Twitch DMCA nonsense thingy, you know, copyright, blah blah blah, whatever. And she also does retouching as well for other photographers, and it's, yeah, like what some of the folks in the chat window are saying right now. Because there's power, exactly, absolute power. All right, she is. I don't know. I really hope to reach her standard someday. I know a lot of people who are tuning in are big fans of her, especially Emily. And it's just insane to see what she is capable of. Yeah, she's queen. Exactly. You know, I think I discovered her works like a few years ago. I think it was in 2017, 3 years ago. Yeah, so amazing. So anyway, we're gonna have a chat with her later on, and of course, I will share the link to her website again later on as well as her Instagram and social media, so you guys can follow her and things. All right, so who is Lillian Liu? She is a young creative photographer who utilizes digital techniques to create unique atmosphere in her work. She is part of the humanitarian artistic collective Free Spirit, headquartered in Paris as of 2016. Features and publications as a photographer include Claire Taiwan, Vogue Taiwan, My Modern Met, CTV News Canada, 54th Annual Taiwan Golden Horse Awards, and many more. And I actually found the list. It is really a long list, and I'm going to read them all out later on, okay, because it's insane. Lillian has received awards in the Photomanipulation category in the 5th and 6th Annual Fine Art Photography Awards. She is also finalist of the 2019 Beautiful Bazaar Magazine and Stocksy Photography Award. She has also shot and designed winning editorials for the 30th Contessa Hair Awards, hosted by Salon Magazine with stylist Freddy Sim. Not only that, she is an accomplished pianist, retoucher, and model as well. So let's take a look at a behind-the-scenes trailer of her at work. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, sorry, I'm so stunned by what's going on this side that because we actually have people saying a lot of very wonderful stuff about you, and at the same time I was kind of distracted. I forgot to press the unmute button by myself. So we've got quite a few people watching in right now. We have Emily from Singapore, we have Ton and Polish, I think that's Yancy Wang as well, and we have Michelle from Australia. Everyone's like going like Queen, she's amazing. We also have Ton and Polish saying, I just want to pop in very quickly, sadly I have to go to work. Oh no, you don't have to go to work. To say hello and that I absolutely adore Lillian and all she stands for, her amazing qualities as a person and her incredible visionary work as an artist and musician. And that's amazing. That's amazing.
Oh,
yeah, and she says she has to go now because she has to go back to work. Sorry about that. Insane. Don't worry, you can always catch the VOD later on. No problem. We have Brooke as well from the UK tuning in as well, saying that your stuff is gorgeous and it's fantastic. And I think these are some of the amazing words that will definitely flood the chat window today because you are such an amazing person. Yeah. So so what time is it there now in Canada again?
5:19.
5:19 a.m. Goodness. Look at that, guys. I actually managed to resurrect her from sleep and then put her on the stream at 5+ a.m. in the morning. Oh man, but thank you so much. It's truly a privilege to actually have you join us here today. Although it's an unearthly hour for you right now. But it's always been my dream to actually speak to you because I've been following your work for so long, and to be honest, I'm kind of like fanboying right now because your works are absolutely stunning. It's absolutely stunning. Just a couple of days ago, you actually followed me on Instagram and just went like, And I screenshotted it and I sent it to Emily. Look who followed me. Confession mode. Yeah, so yeah, that's just insane. But thank you so much for your support. But anyway, today is all about you, and I'm very curious to find out more about who you are and figure out about more behind the ideas, the vision that you come up with, the inspirations that you come up with to or come across to create your surreal work, because your works are very, very unique. You know, when I look at them, it just feels like I've traveled into another dimension. There's a very surreal feel about it. There's a very ethereal atmosphere about all your works, and it's just brilliant. You know, it's like every time I look through your gallery, it's like stepping into a museum. That's how I feel. You know?
Oh, thank you.
It's amazing. Okay, so quickly, how would you describe yourself?
Oh, well, to be honest, I feel like I am taking life one experiment at a time, but I guess I would, consider myself to be a multidisciplinary artist of sorts. But I'm maybe perhaps pianist by day, photographer by night kind of thing. That's also pretty accurate.
Oh, pianist by day, photographer by night. It's not like a superhero, you know. Is this like a but I've seen you shoot in the day. So is that like a weekend kind of thing, like a side hustle or something like that?
Well, because my teaching for piano and stuff is 5 or 6 days a week most of the time, I have one precious day a week where I dedicate solely to photography. And for the other days of the week, I spend my evenings after work retouching or doing like client commissions. So
oh my gosh,
a little bit of a squish. But
yeah, I can imagine your schedule's like all packed, you know. It's just insane. So you kept yourself pretty much very busy even during this the lockdown period?
Yeah, surprisingly so. I didn't think I would be so busy, considering that, like, my teaching's gone online and stuff, and I'm barely shooting, but I'm really bad, and I always have outstanding edits to do. So that keeps me on my toes a little bit.
Oh man, don't
Yeah.
we all have this issue with backlogs. It's unfortunate, but it's just a thing that we have as photographers. Okay, so out of curiosity, what were you doing before your days with the camera? That means before you actually became a photographer.
Well, I was still in school for the most part, so I was just there, playing my games, doing my homework, being a teen. I kind of started photography just as a fun experiment, as a way to kind of just hang out with friends and stuff back in high school. And then it was kind of an experiment at the time, because I wanted to see what it would be like to be able to paint without actually being a painter, and to be I was very envious of actual artists who could do like the more traditional and digital mediums, and I couldn't. But then I realized that, a photograph is also, you can also create art with this device over here. Let's try it out. And the pictures didn't end up being too good at the beginning.
Too good.
So it was just like more so a fun thing. But before even that, it was just student life, right? Your average high school kid doing stupid high school things. So that's me.
We all have those days.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's quite interesting how during high school you actually picked up a camera. What was it, because of you picked up photography class or something like that, or was it just purely out of for fun?
It was weird because I was signed up for an IT course, and then the teacher was saying, well, you kind of have free reign to the whole storeroom of stuff. And then that's kind of where I kind of stole my first camera. Not stole, but I kind of kept it for a longer term during the semester. And I guess the teacher was nice enough and supportive enough to just be like, okay, as long as you don't destroy this thing, you can keep it on hand and just have fun with it. So I was like, okay. So I bring it to the grocery store and take like what I thought were artistic macros of like the little brown spots on the bananas, or like, you know, just stuff like that, or close-up shots of the grass. And I thought it was so unique. But yeah, that's kind of what happened.
Wait, hold on. Let me get this straight. Your first few shots were of spots on a banana. And,
yes, not that one in particular, but a grocery store adventure for sure.
Grocery store adventure. And look at what you're doing now. It's insane. How did from a banana to all this fairy tale stuff? It's insane. I mean, I've been shooting bananas all my life, and it has never become whatever you're doing right now. It's still bananas.
Well, you know.
So would you say that your teacher was actually the first one to introduce you to the world of photography?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I was appreciating photographs, you know, before then, just on the internet, but I didn't think I would actually shoot my own photographs. And so kind of my IT course became me just noodling around with stuff that was unrelated. But in a way, it was nice because I feel like learning through just self-teaching is some of the most effective ways of learning, because you have to bulldoze through your own problems and cry about it, right? Exactly. But then once you get over that hurdle, it stays with you forever, which is quite nice. So you don't have to hold your hand in a way, but
that's true. I think you know, I think we call it self-directed learning, if I'm not wrong, in the teaching industry. So it actually locks you down into a position where you actually make a lot of self-discovery and you learn by yourself, you know, things that you should do and things that you can do. And I think it resonates with what you were saying, that you are living day to day, one experiment at a time. You know, this is something that actually it's probably your mentor, is it mentor? Mantra, I think, that carry you forward to become who you are today. And your when we talk about photography, because there are a lot of other photographers previously and a lot of photographers from before as well, is there anyone who has actually inspired you to take photography to the next level? Do you have any heroes that you could share with us tonight?
Oh, well, I remember just very early on, when I was still kind of, you know, in my teens and just looking on the internet a lot, I thought that Z-Motion's work was the coolest.
Oh, I know her, Z-Motions. Yeah. What's her name? Gina.
Yeah.
Gina.
Yeah,
she's from Singapore.
Yeah, I was like, I just want to meet you.
Now she's based in NYC, I think, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
and now that you mention it, yes, I can see the inspiration behind your works. You know, it just matches up, and it's just insane. You guys are insane people. It's crazy. For those of you guys who don't know who she's talking about, you should check out Z-Motion's work as well. I'll put the username here.
Yeah, she was one of my inspirations very early on, not just because of the fact that her photographs looked, you know, pretty at first glance. It was just her use of color as well.
Yep.
And I thought the atmosphere in her work was quite exceptional, like for me at the time, and she's still one of my top photographers that I get inspired by, just because everything is intentional and perfect. And I guess another photographer I really liked back then, and I still do, is Laura Jade, I think.
Laura Jade.
Yes. Yeah. I was also in my teens and just clicking through, just being like, wow, these are so great.
She's amazing as well. Oh man. And would you say that if you were to meet them accidentally or bump into them in the streets, would you get starstruck by them because they are your heroes in photography?
Probably, I would say so.
Awesome. Yeah. And so basically, photography for you started out as pretty much an experimental thing. When did you actually start to become very serious and take it, you know, to a commercial setting?
I think I was pretty much just playing around up until maybe I was like 22, and then when I was 22, I was in the UK at the time, and then I was like, okay, let's I enjoy this, let's kind of push it a little bit further and see what comes of it. And it was still a little bit of like a more so side thing at the time, but I was starting to put steps into perhaps steamrolling it later on. And then I'm glad I made those few steps, because you do need those initial training wheels, so to speak, before things start coming in.
That's true.
So.
And
So
were you still holding on to the camera that you borrowed from high school, or did you manage to get your own already by then?
Oh, that one I had to return. So I have my own camera now, but I only recently upgraded. I had my D90, my Nikon D90 for quite a few years, and I was seriously outgrowing that for a bit. It was a nice camera for the time, but I wanted a new one. So finally, I think last year, got a D850.
Oh wow, that's a massive upgrade, yeah.
Yeah, and I was really relieved for that
change. Do you
change.
still have your old camera with you? Do you still keep it for memento?
I don't have it on me right now. I only have my current camera.
Oh, let's take a look at the current one then.
Yeah, for sure. So, that's wrong
nice.
way. It's early in the morning, so here's my baby.
One thing I like about Nikon cameras is that there's this consistent look about them throughout all the entire different series, but cracking under the hood is just insane. Emily, I know you're watching this. You should be aiming for a new camera, please.
I really like this one. This is good.
Yep.
I don't think they're the most attractive looking cameras on the side, but I think they're robust. I like how the colors come out right when you shoot. And I mean, just comparing them to Canon, I do like Canon, but I feel like the photos come out creamier there. I don't know, a little bit almost. And I feel like with this one right here, I like having that sort of control for what I want. So it's just it's my work a little bit better. So
and I guess, you know, at the end of the day, like I always tell people, cameras choose their photographers, and there's this symbiotic relationship between the two. If they speak to each other, the photographer speaks to the camera and the camera is able to speak to the photographer as well. It's just a perfect connection and perfect relationship between the two. I know I make it sound like Transformers here, but it's just the way I feel, you know, between man and machine, it just clicks that way. So apart from bananas, when you first started a photo shoot, and of course, you know, your grocery adventures, what else did you start out with in terms of genre?
Well, I guess I was, apart from doing a lot of macros of everything from like grass to bananas to like flowers and everything, I initially was really curious about landscape photography. It wasn't a very long foray just because I didn't think I was very good at it. But then my exposure to photography at the time was mostly through, you know, magazines like, you know, National Geographic, Canadian Geographic. And I was thinking, wow, these are beautiful mountains. I want to be able to make them look like that. But I think also I realized that people at the time, they really liked nice pictures for social media. Okay, well, you know, my friends, they kind of want some nice pictures of themselves, so we'll try to, you know, make you look moody for this one or playful for this one. And it just kind of opened the doors to portraiture a little bit. It was just through like silly teen social media stuff. And I realized that I wanted to try to see if I could, you know, make the pictures look professional by like airbrushing and stuff. And what I thought was airbrushing at the time is
was it your first time doing retouching back then?
Yeah, I would say it was around like the same time as when I discovered my camera. In fact, my retouching was very limited. It was just how high can I turn up the saturation, because it looked super cool at the time. So my bananas were very yellow, obviously. And everything was just maximum because it was like, wow, it's so psychedelic. This is so cool. But then
colors.
I know. Wow. Or I would like turn up the contrast really high because wow.
I would love to see those earlier works. Do you still have those earlier works with you? Could you share some?
I know I burned them from my memory. Like I'm pretty sure they're still in like a backup hard drive somewhere.
You know what? You should have those printed and have them like a very limited edition. And then you just put it online. My first works, I think they will be worth millions or something like that.
Oh my goodness, it'd be really funny. And of course, the fashion at the time, I had friends just dressed themselves. So of course, they were inspired by stuff like, you know, at the time it was, who was big back then? Oh gosh. it was like, just imagine that like 2000s sort of fashion, right? So everything is extremely dated looking now as well.
Yep.
And then I was literally painting on top of their faces, and I thought that was skin retouching. So it was like they're wearing some sort of like horror mask on at the same time. But funny enough, I've come full circle and I'm still painting on my models again. So
that's fine. But I think the way you paint now is it's totally different, I suppose. I mean, back then it could be like on the same level as what you showed me the other day with the Made2 app.
it's comparable. In fact, the Made2 app is probably better.
Yeah, so. I think Made2 is quite insane. The amount of things they can do on the phone these days. It's just insane. But having said that, when you actually do your retouching, do you experiment along as well with your shots? And sometimes you go like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and then you just backtrack a bit and just keep on trying, and then finally figure out something that you like to do. And was this how you evolve as a retoucher as well?
Yeah, I would say the best thing that I could have done for myself was to treat each shoot differently. Like I realized that a lot of people have a certain workflow and that they're comfortable with, that works with them. But I find that, unless I have a really consistent shooting location where I can approach things very like strategically, each shoot is so different that I need to address issues uniquely with each one. Just simply because I like to shoot outdoors a lot, and unfortunately, I can't control Mother Nature. So the shoots that come out from there, along with how maybe outfits or costumes fit on different bodies, like that alone dictates a very different approach each time. So I kind of discover new things I like doing along the way. So I would say that my retouching flow perhaps has evolved very rapidly, maybe every few months, because I discover something that I could do better or do faster, or perhaps a different way of achieving the same result but through a different method, and then it just kind of suits my mood, I guess. And then so it's just a constant cycle of what else can I do to kind of optimize and stuff. So
and I guess with the advancement in technology, with a lot of plugins these days and presets coming into the play, it does make the evolution of retouching even more significant, because you're going leaps and bounds. I know you've worked with Pratik and Bella as well to create some stuff, which we'll talk about in a bit as well. But one question I really want to ask, and I always ask a lot of photographers come onto this show, is why do you want to make photography your career?
Oh, that's a lot. Well, I think to me, it's probably because even if I don't make it like my career, I'll end up doing it anyway. So why not, right? And I think approaching it with the not with the expectation of trying to, perhaps topple the industry and make waves. I think just not going in with that mindset, but going in with the mindset of, what do I want to create and what makes me happy to look at will keep you just coming back even without trying. And of course, if you can attach some sort of monetary value to doing something you enjoy, I think that's actually one of the best gifts that life can offer in terms of feeding yourself. Granted, photography is not my only source of income. I do support myself heavily with my other work too, but it's nice to have just grocery money even, right? Or some of your rent being paid off with something you really like doing. So,
and what they say, if you do something that you truly enjoy and turn it into work, it does not feel like work at all anymore, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Okay, so but having said that, was there any reservation before you actually jump in and make photography your career? Was there anything that could be of a concern, any fears or worry?
Yeah, I would say that the one worry / concern that I still have and that I did have before was the rather lack of consistency. Because your work, you're often commissioned as, you know, a photographer to do X, Y, or Z. And unfortunately, wedding photography is the bane of my existence. I do not do it. And, you know, that's usually a very safe route for, you know, photographers to approach, and a very respectable one at that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can't, no, not for me. So my sources of income when it came to photography automatically became a lot more isolated to whether people wanted to commission me specifically for certain outfits they've made, or for vanity projects perhaps, or for professional headshots that are just, you know, as they are and stuff, or perhaps retouching. And I think that demand is in flux sometimes, especially in COVID. No, people are tighter on money. They're not going to want to spend on, you know, perhaps a fancy photo shoot, right? Or people sometimes might not even want to see you in person during this time. So it's just situations like that. So I would say the lack of consistency has been the main issue for me compared to a very regular 9-to-5 that's predictable. So you can make it, you can hustle quite hard and get, you know, a regular, you know, income, I would say. But I would say splitting it very not intelligently, but smartly between multiple routes would probably be the smartest. Why do I say smart? It's early. Most effective way for me to have approached things, such as retouching versus shooting versus commercial work that's unrelated to my portfolio.
So in terms of commercial work, I mean, it's just a kind of thing that you do to supplement your income. But you know, you don't really put it in your portfolio at all, because I think strategically it's not something that you want to tell people, that, you know, you just want to focus on being a fine art photographer rather than, oh, I actually do this, by the way, and then you get a lot of incoming clients that maybe are not going to be helpful for you in the long run, because it does dilute your focus, I think.
Yeah, for sure, I would agree. And it's a fun thought, because you'd think that you know, flexibility and diversity in your skills makes you more attractive of like a person to hire. And I mean, perhaps showcasing the fact that you can do these things might be helpful, but I think having such a divergent look in your portfolio actually just weakens the branding overall. So I feel like I would almost have to launch under a different name, perhaps, if I want to do the other thing, just because I think that it just doesn't make sense to people. It's a completely different target audience.
Yep,
right?
Yep, that's true.
So,
and ultimately, I think at the end of the day, you know, the idea behind branding and marketing is all about consistency. We're going back to that first word that you used just now, consistency. So for those female photographers who are watching right now, because this is actually one of the most contentious topics that pop out every now and then in various forums and things like that. And I just want to know, how do you feel about starting out initially in a presumably male-dominated industry? Because a lot of people say that, oh, female photographers are quite rare and all that, but now we're seeing a very nice emerging trend. There's so many female photographers out there who are doing very well, like yourself, Zemotion, there's Michelle here, Emily, of course, you know, then covering broad genres of photography. It's like everybody's suddenly doing so well, and it's great to see this kind of diversity and inclusivity. But back then when you first started out, did this come across your mind at all, that it's going to be tough because of you know, probably your gender and all that?
I would say it's gotten a lot better, especially in the last like 5 years, for sure. So it's been easier to navigate. I would say before then, it was a lot more tricky. Tricky being that I think sometimes this relates perhaps to age as well.
Yep.
People might see you as like a young female, okay, probably doesn't really know what's going on yet in life as well.
Yeah.
Perhaps true sometimes, but okay, I have to help her with everything, right? So I think it's just perhaps, I think age might have played a factor in how I perceived other people perceiving me. But I think that being in the industry right now, I would say that at least maybe 8 years ago, it was a lot more scary than it is now. I would say I've had a few situations on like commercial sets or something where I think perhaps, I'm not sure if it was my gender, but perhaps my age, or perhaps a combination of both at the time. I would have people stepping in onto my shoot and just fixing the lights for me without me asking them beforehand, or kind of telling the models to do this or that because presumably it was better, or just kind of taking over in a sense, and then telling me, oh, you should use this setting, you should use this setting and stuff. Whereas now I think that people are perhaps more respectful of each other's boundaries. So I think maybe it was just some bad experiences before with perhaps people that were a little bit abrasive, but I think even online the attitude has changed a bit, which is nice. But I think there is still kind of a stereotype perhaps of what sort of photography women prefer versus men, but I think it just comes down to how the gaze and how women perhaps see beauty. It might just be different from how a man might see beauty, and sometimes there is crossover as well, so it just all depends.
And I guess at the end of the day, you eventually find a community of fellow photographers who support you, and I think that's very important, because I know you have a few Facebook groups as well that you are quite active in, and I can see these are really nice bunch of people. I mean, I have to say this, I have been to forums where it's really nasty, a lot of toxic comments by a lot of backseat armrest photographers. They don't shoot, they just shoot their mouths, that's all. Yeah, we've seen all those. And they're particularly harrowing to see what they say, especially against women photographers. It's just disgusting. But at the end of the day, for those people watching right now, for especially female photographers who are trying out photography, who want to try out photography, I mean, check out what Lillian has done. Against all odds, she has faced some challenges and some setbacks as well, because of her gender and age, but that doesn't mean that you have to back down. Keep on going. I think you get there eventually, just a matter of time. Suddenly sound like Yoda here. Okay, so you have the Nikon D850, and you did say that it's got good colors and things like that. Now, aside from your camera, what is the one piece of gear that you cannot live without?
Ooh. This is funny because it's not related to cameras at all, but I have it with me on every single shoot because it is just so useful, and it's painter's tape. Painter's tape.
Painter's tape?
Yeah, and it's like the tape that they use on the walls when people are painting, so when you pull it off, it doesn't damage. And I love it so much because if you need an emergency costume adjustment, that tape doesn't damage anything. You want to stick a backdrop up on a wall for an emergency, you don't have a backdrop holder, just painter's tape, right? You need to adjust things to the model without using adhesives or anything, just painter's tape. So it's not even a piece of gear, but I consider it almost a tool in my kit now. It's just tape.
Wow. So for those watching right now, that's a very interesting pro tip. I never thought of painter's tape. I always use gaffer tape, and you're right. Sometimes gaffer tape does leave residue behind still. It's not perfect, but I'll look into this painter's tape. I think it's a very wonderful tip, especially pasting on walls.
Yeah, and it really doesn't damage anything. So I'm like feeling very relieved whenever I deal with it. But apart from like that actual gear, I think I would say probably my ring light, because of just its versatility, not just for shooting, but for the makeup artists and stuff as well. You can have one light and everyone on the team can use it. And I think that sort of level of adaptability is what makes it more funny. Like, I realize there are like other fantastic lights and stuff, but you become the sole user of them. Whereas you have one light on a set and it can easily be swapped between everyone. So I think a ring light is super, super, super useful.
And in terms of gear, because I noticed in the first trailer we shared just now, all you have is just a camera. There's no lights, no free reflector, nothing massive. It's just a camera, a lens, yourself, and a model. And is this what you still do these days, or do you have like a whole team behind you to pick up, set up the setting and things like that with all the massive gear and all the massive modifiers?
Yeah. Well, I guess if it's commercial, sometimes they provide that for me, and I'm like, great. I give me all the modifiers. But well, for myself, I don't actually own any of it because I'm so expensive. So
Sorry, what?
It's so expensive. So
Oh yeah.
I work very minimally actually. So I have my camera. Sometimes I have a reflector. A ring light is my friend. Sometimes.
Yep.
I do have some soft boxes, but they're just very cheap Amazon ones. And I do have loom cubes as well to kind of give me that extra punch.
Yep.
But I do need to upgrade my setup, but I'm still doing okay. So I do think that, you don't necessarily need to throw money into gear that you might not consistently use. Like if it's just like a gimmick toy thing, like unless you're treating yourself, I think you have to see, you have to realize that you don't necessarily need a whole arsenal of tools if you know how to work a situation to your favor. And I think that's what working with minimal gear teaches you to do sometimes.
Yep. And it's quite cool that you actually mentioned LoomCube, because you're actually a LoomCube ambassador. So I'm just gonna share the screen on for the audience to see what LoomCube's all about. Let me just drag this window over. Oh man, it's not working. Let me just drag. There we go. I don't know why my Windows left and right is not working today. It's just being funny.
I do have some Loom things here to show as well.
Oh, awesome. Just give me a sec. There we go. That's the LoomCube website. So guys, if you are curious to see what LoomCube's all about, I put the link here in the chat window as well. They do create wonderful lighting system, and they have a few different accessories as well, even for streaming, for photos and videos, and even drones as well, I think, on their website. So you can check it out on your own. But right now I just want Lillian to share what she has done with the LoomCube as well. I think that'll be quite interesting to see.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
So, granted, I do like LoomCube because of its portability.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because it's such a small item, of course there are limitations. Of course, the giant modifiers and everything are the easiest perhaps to work with when it comes to final products. But I think what I like about the LoomCubes is that if you need them as a correctional device, or for an extra kick, if your reflector is not enough, then that really, that's a moment when they really shine.
Yep.
And I have right here one of their newer releases that I really like, which is the LoomCube Panel Mini. It's smaller than the size of my hand.
Yeah.
And this thing could just light up a completely dark room and make it look like daylight. It is crazy. But how I use this is usually when I shoot perhaps indoors and there's perhaps a natural light source already, but I need to correct shadows or create even lighting when there is none because of the way my apartment is set up. So I might set this on a little table somewhere far off, just turn it on, and it immediately just creates that illumination that I would otherwise have to edit out. And I don't correct shadows and stuff anymore. Or when I shoot in perhaps studio, or when I have a fabric backdrop in the back, I set this up behind the model and it corrects the shadows behind there, so I don't have to retype as much. So I realize those are perhaps more unorthodox uses for this. I know that most people enjoy this on drones a lot and on for streaming and stuff, but I do really enjoy it as a little correctional tool, and it comes diffused as well with a little case. Otherwise, they are known, I guess their first product that they've released were the actual little cubes, right? So this is a LoomCube Air right now. It's literally this big.
It's so tiny.
I know, and it has, I put a modifying frame on it so I can stick diffusers and stuff just on it as well.
Brilliant.
And of course, you can also put color gels on here onto the frame. These are magnets on the side and they just don't fall out. I use these also either for correction or for creating bright focus points in my shot. So if I want just the space to be quite illuminated, I might use one of these, maybe with some barn doors on the side to control the flow of light a little bit. Or I like to use these with a color gel on them just to create some sort of atmosphere. So if I don't want to like end up toning things, you know, in
Brilliant.
post, I might use one of these. But yeah, I would say they may be situational, but I do enjoy them just for the doors that they could open. Just they're fun to play with as well.
So it's always part of your photography kit wherever you go.
I have them just in case all the time, and I end up using it.
I have to say I'm very envious because you know, your minimalist setup is so much lighter than what I have to deal with when I go for commercial work. Could you share some of the works that you've done that you have actually used the Lume Cube with? Oh wait, did I pronounce it right? Lume Cube or Lume Cube?
Yeah, Lume Cube. Yeah. So I just have to figure out how do I do this again. Share my screen.
Yep. So you
I
have to
did
set up a different computer.
Okay, I've got it now. Okay.
There we go.
So I've just labeled some of these. Can you see this?
Let's see.
No. Okay.
Nope.
Don't worry. I'll share something else.
Sure.
So I'm like very dumb with
No
this.
problem. No problem. Don't worry.
Photos. There you go. So this image right here was me playing around with some of the Lume Cubes for the first time, like a couple of new products.
Mm-hmm.
So the only light source in this shoot were the Lume Cubes, actually.
No way.
And the blue came from one of the color gels, the blue color gel. So I would say the colors in this are done in camera. So this was very interesting for me. Let me pull out another thing that I used Lume Cube on, a little bit more minimally this time. So new share with this one. This image right here used natural light and Lume Cube. Mm-hmm. So she was sitting in a place that was lit by her window, and that little strip of light right there was done with the panel and some through some books. So it was just quite a little streak of light, but I really kind of enjoyed that little subtle effect over there. But yeah, those are two examples. I'm just seeing if I have any more on hand. So I have one more new share. Sorry, I have to do this every time. This one right here was also lit by Lume Cube. I think it was like 3 of them.
Wow.
I did use post-processing to brighten her up later because I shot this one a little darker than usual, but I was still able to capture the reflectiveness in the metallic clothing that I really wanted from Lume Cube, and I guess the glowiness in her shoes, and that's kind of what I tried to aim for. Yep. And of course, I did do post-editing with some of the other details and stuff, but I would say the first image that you saw was pure Lume Cube, and the other ones are like a hybrid. So.
And where do you get these wonderful, epic-looking costumes and headdresses? Do you make them yourselves, or do you find them from fashion stores or online stores or things like that?
Yeah, so well, this particular look right here was by a designer called Saban, and she's in London, so I usually go to designers directly for that. Sometimes I put together my own stuff, sometimes I shop, but I'm just lazy. So, and plus, you know, I think a designer sometimes they want creative images for their portfolio. So actually, if you are looking to do collaborations to expand your contacts or your portfolio, I think teaming up with a designer is often the most fruitful, because then they're always looking for new and good pictures for your work. So yeah, so this one's by Saban.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I really love the crescent moon on top of it. It just reminds me of some what's that goddess of the moon? Forgot her name. I'm so bad at Greek mythology. Was it Freya? No, Freya's a gift goddess of life.
Celine.
Sorry?
I think. Celine, goddess of the moon.
Celine? Yeah, I think so. I need to watch or reread all my mythical stuff again. Next question. You're a pianist, a photographer, a retoucher, and also a model. Clearly very talented individual. Is there something that you cannot do but wish you can do?
Math.
Sorry?
Math.
Yeah.
I got like
now that you mention it, yes. You know, when I first started photography, I thought that that's it. I don't have to do anything with math at all, right? I was like, yeah, mathematics is not my strongest point in school, and, the last time I touched a calculator was in when I was in college, and that was a long ago. And then when I got into the world of photography, in the terms in the business of photography especially, accounts is one of the harrowing things I hate to do, but it's necessary. And then there's inverse square law where I have to actually calculate with math. And I guess I'm with you in this. I also suck at math. But in your case, what is the one thing about math that you really cannot deal with?
It's funny enough because math has a very linear train of thought, right? You go from point A to point B to point C. There is a rhyme and reason to it. And there is the solution always has to, make sense logically.
True.
And that's just not how my brain works. Sometimes I don't like thinking step by step. It just doesn't work, right?
Yep.
Like for me, I approach the picture, a photograph at the end with the end result in mind. Sometimes there is like a journey of self-discovery there, but I don't like using point A to point B because every shoot is different, right?
Yep,
same thing with piano. I approach it by saying, okay, I want it to sound like this in the end. Let's just see how I noodle and get there. And I realized that perhaps it might be more efficient to have an organized workflow, but I just don't. And that's probably why I had some problems trying to find PSDs, like full PSDs for us today. I found bits and pieces, but it's just like very abstract. You look at it and they're very abstract representations of just my thinking and like scrapped ideas over and over.
It's okay, not to worry. For those of folks watching at home right now, stay tuned until the end because we're gonna have Lillian share some of the breakdowns with her images in her PSD files, and these are, I don't think you've ever shown them to the public before, right?
No, it's messy.
So this is like an exclusive on Amazing Live Show, so that's how awesome it is. And in one of your trailers, in fact I think it was a trailer that we showed previously, you were wearing, don't think I didn't notice, but you were wearing a Dragon Age t-shirt.
Oh yeah.
So you're quite the gamer as well, I guess.
Oh yeah, well I'm more so before too when I had more time, but still hopefully I'm looking forward to some new stuff, but I do try to play when I can now.
Right.
But religious before, so.
and what do you play these days when in between your breaks, doing your breaks?
I guess right now I'm replaying a new route in Divinity Original Sin 2.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I played that one already a while ago, but then obviously it's such an open-ended game that it can go quite a few ways, so I just decided to restart again, re-roll, but somehow my party ended up being the same build. So I don't know, it's just a creature of habit perhaps.
Yeah.
But that's probably the one thing I'm kind of re-looking at right now.
And
I look forward.
Yeah. And would you say that games actually have a kind of like act as inspiration for your photo shoots? Because the kind of games you play are also based on fantasy as well, I think, like RPGs and things like that.
I would say so. I think perhaps the art style or aesthetic has always been a factor, or sometimes I'm always very inspired by concept art at the same time, and I think the idea of character being very important in my shoots probably comes from a lot of these games as well, because you need a character that your audience can kind of wrap their imagination around.
Yep.
Perhaps not relate to, but maybe in some cases they could relate to a character. But I think even as themselves, you need to look at them and instantly be able to pick up on perhaps a guess to their backstory or what they might be like. And I think in a photograph, especially of a person, having that sense of character is really important. I think, to me anyway.
Yep.
Just being able to pick up instantly on who they are.
Yep.
And games definitely do that. So.
And I guess this is part of the storytelling within your pictures, I suppose. It just adds up. And this is a side question which has absolutely nothing to do with photography. I'm just curious. If this was a fantasy world, what would you be? A mage, a wizard, a witch, or a hunter, a warrior, or a berserker, barbarian? Which one?
I think what I wish to be is probably not what I would be. Right? So what I wish to be probably would be anything like the heavier the armor, the better. Like honestly, just let me be a tank, let me be a paladin, let me be anything, sword and shield.
Nice.
Let's go, right? But in reality, like, do I have the muscles to sustain that? Probably not, right? And so I've heard from many people that I'd be some sort of like wizard or like caster type, you know, like some sort of conjurer.
Yeah.
And I think, you know what, probably more accurate, even though my dream would be to be otherwise. So.
And I got Emily here saying that you are supposed to be part of Team Gremlin.
Gremlin.
Yes. A Mogwai. I think Paladin would suit you interesting because it would be quite cool to actually see you in armor. Whether or not you can move after that, it's fine. You know, it's fantasy world. You know, go forth and move and it's fine. Okay, so let's move on and talk about awards and recognition because you have a whole massive list of awards and recognition pieces, and I'm gonna read them all out because I know you sent me a short list, so I was like thinking, nah, this is not it. This is just probably a summarized version. So I'm gonna dig up a bit more. So and I found a whole long list, and here we are. So let's start with the beginning. You are part of the humanitarian artistic collective Free Spirit in Paris as of 2016. What does this entail?
I kind of like how open-ended that is because it's a collective of artists that are not just one discipline. So you have stylists, designers, photographers, models, visual artists as well, like traditional artists and everything. And it's run by a super, super cool and generous guy called Fabrice Fossa, and he's the founder of Free Spirit. And I think his main objective with Free Spirit is to use art as a medium to raise awareness about specific issues, depending on whatever might be the target issue at the time. So, for example, we have something coming up, hopefully, if COVID doesn't destroy everything, in March, where it is both a visual gallery and a concert as well.
Oh, wow.
Where the people involved in Free Spirit kind of come together to create together as like a group, and the results of that are then being showcased in audio and then visual format. So all the looks or the designs will come from people who are, involved in that circles, even all photographers and everything. And then our previous effort, I think, I forgot when that was, last year, last winter or something, went, for example, to replanting trees in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And then this time to I think it's for an orphanage and school they're building in a particular city. So I have to check in on the details of that.
No worries. But do you have like samples of the actual event from the previous outing?
I do. It's on Facebook. I might have to dig it out a little bit.
Oh, okay. Then it's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay, but probably on YouTube or definitely on their website.
Sure. Send me the link later on, and I'll just share the chat window as well. So being part of this collective actually does help you develop your creative skills further, I suppose, in terms of interactions with fellow creatives. Does it?
Yeah, I would say that it opens a lot of doors when it comes to having contacts. Granted, it's probably a lot easier for people who are actually based in France because that's where a large body of their members are. But they have branched out into many different places. Like we have members from Denmark, members from the Netherlands, from Canada, US, UK, just you name it. But I guess they're primarily based in France. So if you are in France, it's probably the easiest to reap the benefits. But you're still connected this way, even globally. Just perhaps a tiny bit more limited to certain resources, perhaps.
Yep. And when we talk about your commercial work, right now on the walls of the Colleague Blanche McDonald on Robson Street in downtown Vancouver, your work is still featured on those murals or something like that. You also have work featured on book covers with renowned authors such as K. Andy. It's just like your portfolio is like everywhere. I feel. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I would
insane.
say the Blanche McDonald one was definitely pretty cool, just because I didn't think I would be doing that type of photography, But I think what they asked for was that sort of commercial photography, but with a little bit of fantasy flair, just a bit. So I thought,
Just a bit.
okay, it's a nice merging of that. But they wanted to essentially rebrand the store, which is also the front of
Mhm.
a makeup school as well.
Yep.
So the bottom level is just a makeup store
Awesome.
with all these brands and stuff.
And-
So it's just showcasing their makeup, right?
And how does it feel to actually walk down the streets and actually see your work on that massive platform?
It's weird. It's really cool, but it's weird too.
Oh man,
But
I thought you say you'd
like,
be very proud, like, wow, my work, it's printed.
I mean, I'm very happy about it, but at the same time, it's like, whoa, okay.
Nice.
It's a little bit of a strange,
Mm.
strange feeling, but I am quite happy when I see it.
Brilliant, brilliant. And now I'm gonna try to read the awards you have won in one breath. So I'll try. I'm just kidding, but I'll just share with the audience. Basically, you have won awards in the Photomanipulation category in the 5th and 6th annual Fine Art Photography Awards for your pieces Blood, Flower, and the Sacred Gift. You also are a finalist of the 2019 Beautiful Bazaar magazine and Stocksy Photography Award with the Bard. You also shot award-winning editorials for the 30th Contessa Hair Awards hosted by Salon Magazine in the categories Multicultural, Hairstylist of the Year, and British Columbia Hairstylist of the Year with stylist Freddy Sim, which is another one of your great collaborations with a hairstylist. You have also works featured on Claire Taiwan, Vogue Taiwan, My Modern Met, CTV News Canada, Art Feng, 54th Annual Taiwan Golden Horse Awards, Kat Von D Beauty 10 Years of Beauty, Muse No. 5, Faye Huff, Photo Vogue Italia, Feroz, Gazelle, Elements, Dreamingless, Elegance, Surreal Beauty, Art of Portrait, Gilded, Phantasm, Unfolded, Dark Beauty, Pump, Obscure, Giuseppina, Gothic, and Amazing Cortex, and many more. There's too many more, which I couldn't list anymore because it's just too much. How are you so bloody talented?
Having, I think, perhaps the way I create the best, I think, is just to have like groups of people that I just really enjoy being with, right? So I think sometimes when I create art that I really like, it's often with people that I also really like as well.
Yep.
And I think often that personal connection is the most powerful. And granted, of course, you could hire a professional model or makeup artist and they could easily do like an incredible job. But I think having someone who knows you inside out creates something even stronger. So perhaps some people can see that in certain works that might have won something, and funny enough, those pieces are usually featuring friends that like I'm very close with. So
And
I think that working relationship is something very quite unique and special for everyone. So
that's right. And I suppose over time there are some people that you stick with when you grow as a creative, and then they themselves are growing as a creative as well in their own endeavors, like for example stylists, makeup artists, designers like you said earlier, and you just grow together because you get to know each other better, and you know each other's wants and needs, and then eventually come out the kind of art that you work with. But having said that, because you interact with so many people, were there any source or any events where it's like there's a kind of like a tension between designers? Because when you talk about creatives, everybody has an idea of how things are supposed to run. Even you acknowledge that, like some people want to overpower their own ideas and things like that. Do you experience this with your collaborations?
I'm glad I don't. Granted, I think most people who, like, when I approach a collaboration, I realize that the door has to be kept open a lot of the time for everyone to have some sort of input so that everyone can be happy and be able to use the picture later on for something. Granted, some people are just like, oh, just do whatever. Just have me involved. And I'm like, okay, cool. But other people that, I know that I realize that they come in with something that they would like to do. And I was like, okay, well, if this is a partnership, you have to try and include as much as you can of someone else. But in terms of like tension, I'm I think I just actively avoid it altogether. So if there ever is any, I usually do not work in person again. So granted, I don't think I've ever had that very much, maybe only once, but it was like the first time I worked with a group, and it wasn't even to me. It was, I guess, how the one party was treating the makeup artist and the other people on the team. I thought it was a little bit, so rude. So yeah, so just never again in that case,
Yeah,
right?
it does ruin the mood during the shoot as well, I think, and it'll affect everyone's feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very important for people skills, social skills. I think are very important for photography.
Exactly. And I think Neilef is quite right in the sense that to get better in your craft, you still have to practice. I mean, at the end of the day, your experimentations, trying things out, being very active with the camera and just shooting random stuff even, just to get a feel, and an idea of what works and what doesn't work, helps you build up your portfolio. And speaking of portfolio, how do you build up your portfolio over time, deciding what goes into your portfolio, and how do you manage your business as a photographer?
Well, I think for me, a lot of the time, portfolio pretty much entails sets that I think are very meticulously curated. So I don't tend to shoot for quantity a lot of the time. I might put a lot of work into one set, maybe only 2 photos come out. But I have to make sure that each photo is comparable to the last when it comes to quality or design or style, so that it becomes usable in the universe, so to speak. Like, I think having pieces that look like they're from the same universe is very powerful for branding. So I often try to go out of my way to try and think of that when I'm shooting, especially when it comes to editing style as well, because there are, I think with my look that I'm sharing most of the time, it's quite specific. But I think when it comes to portfolio, perhaps when you're starting out, like when I was starting out, I thought that it was quite helpful to have perhaps a variety of styles. That doesn't help me as much anymore. But I think the main thing is to showcase your universe, your atmosphere, and it has to be tangible between each picture. I hope I'm making sense a little bit.
You do, absolutely, and I completely agree with you, because at the end of the day, it all goes back to the one keyword that you shared with us just now: consistency, right? And right now, because I'm actually sharing the audience your portfolio, let's take a look at some breakdowns of your images. I believe you have some PSDs you'd like to share with us today.
Yeah.
I am very excited.
This is fun because I have, perhaps it's also my computer, but my computer hates it when I have very large PSD or PSV files.
Oh, so relatable.
So everything is just broken up into chunks. So let me see if I can open up, for example, one image broken up into 3 files, and you can kind of see how it feels. So I'm just waiting for my Photoshop to become alive. And I have a very bad habit of doing a lot of my work in one file, then copying all the merged layers onto a new thing, and this file is for colors, and then this file is for something else. And then the drafts end up being quite messy because I don't ever know quite where I'm going to go with something. So I'm just opening up the last file, then I'll share my screen. So before we look at this, this is an image that initially was just a model just standing in front of like a black fabric. And I realized that it was a bit boring. And so after playing around a lot, this ended up becoming a composite. So I'm sure you can see the little details come up after it loads.
It's okay. Niav is saying that it's an enormously impressive portfolio, and I have to agree. Your works are just brilliant. You can actually see more of your works on Instagram, because you're very active on Instagram as well. And this is we'll explore your Instagram account in a bit, because you do share some behind the scenes videos, which I honestly, during my research, I couldn't find anywhere else, and I realized that, oh, look at it, they're embedded inside your stories on Instagram. Yeah, so we'll do that in a bit. Oh, and you're using honorific element as well.
So this is the picture, this is the final results. And so the process is very messy. So it started off being like this.
So many
and
layers.
I extended the background just because I like space to work. But the skull was initially added in because I think his name's Billy Ellis. He creates skull art and he made some stocks and I wanted to play with them. But if we're going to just turn off the layers, like that hand was from a different picture altogether. And I thought that it was very just dull by itself. So these are just shadows that I tried to paint in. And I thought the crown was a bit imbalanced there, so I tried to add that element in as well. There's my very ugly painting. And it goes down to this. And that's his other hand, his original hand in this picture. And, I mean, it's a lovely hand, but I didn't like where it was. So, and then I would take that and I went on to the next image. And if I just were to turn everything off here, we started here, fixed more colors. I decided to give him a cape because capes are cool. And then extending there, obviously. Fixed some shadows and then added some cool tones in here. And this is one of my presets that I made with Bella and Pratik, which changed my colors into a more, I would say, a two-tone sort of look before I brought the other colors back. So I really enjoy having oranges when I want Renaissance-inspired work because of just how I see the paintings. My eye sees a lot of orange, so I just decided to apply a lot of orange. And this action in particular works well with dark backgrounds because it really accentuates the shadows. So I decided to use that because it was easy. And then warm tones here. So for warm tones, I like using, sorry, let me just try to turn all of them off so you can see what's going on. Yeah, I like to work on colors and just building slowly and very subtly with each layer.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I'm not sure if you can see the difference, at least on here.
Oh,
but
brilliant. I can see it very clearly.
Good.
And I love the fact that your color changes are very subdued, very, it's almost subtle, right? It's very fine.
Yeah.
Considering that, when you shared just now earlier in the show, when you first started out, you were like ramming the saturation all the way to the edge, making all these psychedelic colors and things like that. And it just shows how much you've evolved over time. You learned that colors are not supposed to be blah like that all the way. Just very subtle.
I mean, they're way more fun to be bang, right? But just and this is featuring Mario's Oniric when he wanted to share that, and I was like, oh, I love this, so I have to add it. So, and this also has Pratik's infinite color as well. So lots of cool widgets. So I guess we started off here, and this is just me noodling around with heavier shadows, being indecisive as usual. And because the original image did not have, good shadows, I wasn't able to create those in camera for this image. I had to fake it in here through applying them in. Love infinite color just for the little color tweaks. And of course, Oniric is so cool because it creates glow. Like Mario is like, his brain is somewhere else, stratosphere. He's so cool.
It's just brilliant how he does it, right?
I know, yeah. His hand was a bit empty, so I was like, should I put a flower here? And I wasn't too sure about it. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'll add in a skeleton hand. And then final result was me changing the color of that to gold, painting over it, and just fine-tuning the shadows and highlights and stuff. And then this is the final picture. So.
Wow. The scary thing is that it all started with just the man holding his hand close to his chest, and now you actually have him being embraced by a skeleton, a golden skeleton. It's just crazy.
Well, I was very inspired by Billy Ellis's stock here, and then I bought it and I wanted to use it. So yeah, that's one of my messy PSVs.
So you actually have a whole collection, I suppose, of props at home as well. I mean, you buy stuff as well to use for your photo shoots.
Yeah, they're mostly smaller items because I just don't have room for big items. But I think it's actually a very good investment to invest in small pieces that you can reuse, especially like, for example, clip-on earrings for your models that you can just reuse in a lot of shoots. Hand jewels and stuff. I think that's all a really good thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
for
Yeah,
sure,
so-
for sure. And I'm just curious, in terms of your journey as a photographer, because right now you pretty much an established photographer, but during your journey on the way here, do you come across any pushbacks or setbacks or any form of I would say things that significantly impacted your choices for your career?
Yeah, I would say so. Perhaps some difficulties and setbacks, but they're also strengths at the same time. So I would say that the one biggest thing was the idea of this sort of style not being pure photography sometimes. And it was very difficult at the time for people to categorize it. And unfortunately, people need categories for stuff. Whether you're a buyer or like a competition or something, they need these categories. And of course, you have the purists who are like, it's not a Vogue, right? And so those ones were the most annoying.
Oh yeah.
But I was in terms of like a career standpoint, it was more so like, you can't submit to this gallery because we take digital art only, we take photography only. So if you're ever in the middle, they're like, we don't know where to put you. Or I'm glad that this is changing now, but for example, photo competitions, I don't do a lot of those, but precisely because of this reason. But now they're opening up with new categories, which is amazing because I think they've heard enough demand for it. But before, they were just saying, well, we don't know where this goes, so we just can't take it. Or it has too much processing, therefore we cannot accept it because, and I understand that if it's like a photography contest perhaps. Yep. Or a buyer, they're looking for a photograph, but it's not quite a photograph. Or if you go into the digital art circle, well, you're cheating half the time then because you have like mostly photography, so what are you? So I would say that was the biggest setback, just how people saw me. But then now it's its own thing, so.
I think it's great to see that photography circles are more accepting of us creatures who do a lot of photoshopping in our works.
I think that's really honestly just the future, right?
Exactly.
Software is going to be a huge part of it, and I think if you see it as just a part of your toolkit, then you might be more friendly towards it. And after all, you still need a really good photo at the start to do anything with it. And if your photo's good, you just save way more time, right? Exactly. You don't have to do whatever I just did with my PSD, trying to fake everything for that shot because with the shadows and everything, just because my lighting was not good that day. So.
And right now, I'm just gonna ask you a very funny question. If you had a time machine and you can go back 10 years, what would you tell yourself?
I'd be like, probably, I would tell myself that, the money you are investing into this is worth it. Because I think back then, I didn't invest so much in gear, but I was investing more so in opportunities. And by that, I mean like working with people that really inspired me, but they weren't necessarily close to me. But then I would make the physical trip over to make it happen, Wow. And I think that sometimes doing that, even though it's kind of a leap, if you just know that something's going to come from it, then it's worth having that in your portfolio sometimes if you know it's going to make it stronger. I would also tell myself that you shouldn't worry so much about branching out and being a master at all styles, so to speak. I think while you sort of can try new styles, certain looks are limited as well to what kind of gear you have, I think. Like, I know that you can pull off anything if you're skilled enough, but certain things can be easier. Like, for example, beauty shoots. It's much easier if you just have that, you know, correct setup as well, and the right lens for it and everything. And while you can certainly dabble on this, it doesn't make sense to expect results that are on par with people who might have those things, right? So just work with what you have and find what inspires you and just go for it.
Let's go for it, exactly. And Nialev actually asked a very interesting question as well. In retrospect, what message would you have for yourself for the future? Let's say this time you're 10 years before, now we're at present. What about 10 years from now? What would you tell yourself?
I probably tell myself, stop hating on early work so much. It's like a biannual thing where I just feel like deleting everything.
Oh dear.
Because I'm like, oh no, I made a mistake here, can't look at it. And then it just turns into something else, right? So I'd probably just say that, you know, stop hating on old stuff and just realize part of the process, and you don't have to set your old portfolio on fire so it never sees the light of day again. It is what it is, right? I mean, maybe on your website you can take them off if it doesn't represent you anymore, but you shouldn't have to be confined by it, but neither should you be embarrassed about it, I think. So that's probably what I would tell myself. So
you basically like just archive it somewhere in some vault that you look at once in a while, I guess.
Well, I look at my page and I just feel like sometimes I really like a piece. Like I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of it. And then like a year later, I'm like, bleh, because I see things I might have wanted to fix about it, right? And it just bothers me and it turns into something ugly. But then now I'm just like, no, just leave it. It's fine the way it is, you know?
Nice, awesome.
It was you at the time, so.
Okay, so let's take a look at a short trailer behind the scenes of one of your works where you team up with Maria Mirage Photography. I think this was quite some time ago as well. And I managed I managed to find this on Maria's old YouTube channel. I think it's no longer active, but it's a very interesting thing. So let's take a look.
Oh, that was old stuff.
Wow. How long ago was that?
Oh, oh, was this the graveyard one?
Yeah, Griffith one. Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, how many years ago was that? I was like,
3 years ago, I think, 2017.
I did probably. So, I think it's even before. I think it's even before that. Maybe.
Oh wow. This
Maybe.
walk down memory lane.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting how you guys did the shoot, because you basically both of you just take turns to style each other and then switch places as model and photographer and vice versa, and then work on Photoshop to explore how you interpret your own images in your own ways. But I realized something, that there's this melancholic theme that seems to be quite constant in some of your works. Why this theme?
I think it's probably because most people can relate to a degree with struggle. And granted, I do think, of course, promoting joy is always the right thing. But there's something that comes easier to me when it comes to working with color tones that I might associate with feelings of negativity. It's just easier for me to work with, like darker, deeper shadows and everything. It just really suits it. But I think that melancholy in a picture usually is more, I don't know, I think it's easier for people to pick up on than perhaps overt joy. Because someone could be happy, but not necessarily, they could be jumping for joy, but then that's about it. Whereas melancholy, I think there's a slightly wider range of ways you can portray that. And I think most characters in myth or in folklore and stories usually have some sort of unfortunate trauma, right? And that comes with their characters. So I would say that these are themes that people can relate with, but they're also very common in my inspirations as well. So they just leak out and stuff.
And it's quite interesting, I guess, because your approach to these sad themes or melancholic themes, they actually have some form of storytelling. For example, the funeral scene. Everyone's like looking very remorseful, very sad, and you have this I think it's a warrior or something lying on the deathbed. And that image speaks volumes. And when I looked at it for the first time, and to be honest, that's probably one of my most favorite photos in your portfolio. When I looked at it, it just reminds me of one of those old paintings from yesteryears. It's like something from the Renaissance era. It's so brilliant. But I'm always curious, how do you get your models to portray those emotions? Do you tell them to be this character, just imagine your most traumatic experience or something like that? Can you share some tips with how you get them to do it?
First of all, I think selecting the models is very important. I think it's more than just the look. I think a lot of photographers, sometimes they usually find models who have like a look that they enjoy and they would like to photograph them. But I find that often the pictures are not as effective if it's only just that, because their persona could actually contrast with the character you're trying to portray. So I think having some acting chops is pretty good. Usually I tell them exactly what I want, and then I might walk them through their facial expressions a little bit more. So it's often a very perhaps awkward situation where I'm like, more, no, do it again. Right? I'm trying to get that kind of like look on their face. Once it's there, it's there. But I think again, that level of comfort between photographer and model is quite important, because they need to be comfortable enough to be able to kind of play out certain ideas. Whereas, and I guess it also depends on the type of models as well. Like if you get a model that's so used to doing catalog shoots, they're so good with their body, but they perhaps don't think about face as much, right? Whereas, you might have certain models that are, really good at emoting because they come from an acting background. Perhaps that's always a strength, right? So I prefer to go with the latter. But yeah, I think the job lies with you as the photographer. I think it is your responsibility to try and coax it out of the model, whether through using metaphors or through just imitation or showing them pictures. I think that it depends on the person. Like some people, obviously, they don't want to be reminded of the trauma. Some people are like, yeah, let's do method, right? So it just depends. So yeah.
So, I guess when showing pictures, do you refer to like a custom mood boards, or like some photographers they use Pinterest and things like that? What do you use in particular?
Sometimes some models actually ask me for a mood board, so then I would use the Pinterest. But I don't really like mood boarding too much, just because it takes too much time for me. Yeah, it's just too much time. So I'd rather be playing my game or something. Yeah. So, but I think if they want that visual cue, I know it really helps some people.
Really?
So I try to provide to the best of my ability. So.
And in terms of workflow, how would you say your steps are like? I mean, like, could you just briefly share with us the pre-production to the actual production to the post-production and the post-processing? How does it go like for your case?
I would say pre-production can range from extremely crazy to none at all, depending on what we're doing. But I would say for crazy, I like to be over-prepared sometimes. So just in case something goes wrong, there's always a plan B, because my brain just likes to have that security net. So I think pre-production for me usually always ends up being thinking of keywords. I think keywords are very important. Like, what do you want your audience to feel? What do you want to convey? Okay, let's start from there. So you have keywords, then you have perhaps your costume that you sourced or all written, something like that. Then you decide, who can I envision wearing this? And then I build from there again. And now, okay, how many people do I need, and what resources do I need? Do I need to make anything? Then go off and do all that. Afterwards, in the actual shooting itself, I'm still not really thinking about the final product yet. I might walk in with like a few sketches, but every model reacts so differently. Some people just physically cannot do a pose that you drew out because their body just doesn't work that way, right? So you just have to be able to adapt. And there's the actual shooting. After that, the most important part of the process, I think, is the sitting down and reviewing, because then you look at the images, and even for the ones that don't work, you think, are there parts to it that I can recycle and composite? Are there elements of this that I like, And from there on, you start thinking about color, like what colors actually work. Like, I might have wanted cooler tones, but do they actually look good in this case? Especially if perhaps a model has a specific skin tone, or if the hair color doesn't quite work, like all of that comes into play. So I do a lot of noodling, maybe too much noodling, make a few drafts. And then from there, I start the actual physical editing. And then I still don't really know what I'm doing sometimes, because what I want to do doesn't end up being what happens, because I just kind of see what's missing and just kind of go from there. So yeah, I would say the review part is crucial. Yeah.
And I guess at the end of the day, you even in the post-processing bit, you are still experimenting to see what actually works, but you are still aligned with your original vision, I suppose, because at the end of the day, you have something in mind all along, right?
Yeah, or I had like a rough idea, like a few variables, but like with the skull and picture that we saw earlier with the guy in the crown, I think that was an example of me reviewing and being like, I like his hand here and I don't like his hand here. And there's something missing. Throw in a couple things. Oh, I hate my lighting after all, this is not good. Then change the lighting, right? So it's just a process of seeing what comes in.
Yeah. And what would you say is the biggest collaborative project that you've undertaken so far? Do you have it, and can you share it on screen?
Oh yeah, it was the one that you mentioned, actually, the one with the funeral one.
Lovely.
Yeah, that one was a nightmare to put together, but it is one of my absolute favorites. So
it's just chef kiss.
Thank you.
Really?
This was ridiculous to put together, though, because not just because of the amount of people, but it was also, I traveled down to South Carolina in the States for this. It was really hot in July. They had to wear layers and layers of their armor, first of all. And then we had to work in a trailer that was boiling, and the sun was overhead, and the lighting was crap. And every time we set up something and it was ready to go, the sun shifted again. So model who's playing the dead guy was probably getting a sunburn on his
Oh,
face by the
man,
time it was
yeah.
all over. But it's one of my favorites though, not just because of the effort, but because I wanted to shoot something like this for a long time, and then found the right guy for it. So the guy in the center was responsible for making a lot of these things. So he's talented, and funny enough, they are like a family. There's dad, there's big brother, there's little brother. So it's kind of like keeping it in the family as well. And these are all just like friends. But the customizing came from painting every individual shield, building this beer, planting every single flower on the ground that you see. Some of them are composited in, but we made sure to make the field look like it had flowers. We painted our banners as well.
Wow.
And funny enough, I'll show you kind of what this image looked like before a lot of the toning and stuff.
I would love to see
that. Yeah, but just to point out, this is a composite because the lighting was so crappy that areas were just blown out. So I would say in the original image, these, in my memory, I think it was these guys were in, some of these guys. And then I think these guys came from a different picture altogether because we originally had two women here in this area, but they were in the other shot as well. But I thought that there was too much happening in the foreground. There wasn't, like here, there's a very clear focal point of three, whereas if you had the two women here, it might have been too cluttered. So I decided to paste these guys, I think it was those guys, one of the guys in the back, into the picture. And of course we had South Carolina's sun, and it was directly overhead, like literally the worst time to shoot. So the sky was blue and it was ugly. I'll show you. It was the worst picture ever. Not proud of the raw, but it is part of the process. And of course, I'm just happy that I managed to salvage it. So let me just share this. This was one of the raws that came from it, actually.
No way.
Yeah. So you can see the girls here, and I had to composite images in just because the setup was too wide. So I guess these guys are part of the original pic, but then those guys came from somewhere else.
Yep.
And the sun was just completely like, no, this is ugly like this. So we managed to fix it. But yeah, this is what it was, a part of it beforehand. So.
And your color grading at the end, in the end result, is just chef kiss. Really, it's so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It really reminds me of something that Samuel L. Jackson would come up. No, not Samuel L. Jackson. Sorry. Oh man, wrong guy. Wrong Jackson. Peter Jackson. Oh my God! Did I just say Samuel L. Jackson? Oh no, wrong guy. Not Nick Fury. Peter Jackson. Jackson.
Yeah, I think for this color grading though, I was inspired by the old paintings. So I know that warm colors are like exceptionally crucial to that look, right? So I was like, okay, warm everything, just because the sky was like blue and I didn't want that. And it was also the wrong time of day. Like we couldn't get golden hour just because of everyone's schedule. So this was my intended time of day before the shoot as well. And I didn't like how the light source was directly above. So I tried to change the light source to coming from the center area. This is
where Honoric came into play, because I recall this when Mario showed his trailer on the previous episode of the Amazing Live show. He actually showed your work, and I saw it and I was like, wait, that was Lillian's work.
Yeah, and that was actually the pre-Honoric one. This is the post-Honoric one, the one where I reworked it and put some Honoric into it. I don't know if you can see.
It looks so much more dramatic.
It's more dramatic, so I was like, you know what, Mario? You are awesome.
You're such a genius, right? I mean, wow.
I know.
Crazy guy.
So this is the elevated version, I guess. But yeah, this is probably my favorite, biggest collab. And it was a nightmare to put together, but it's one of my favorites. And I was supposed to go down in March to do another shoot that was just like this scale, but different theme with the same guys. But COVID. So
I'm looking forward to that one already, because if this is the standard that you came up with last year, I can't wait to see what you're gonna come up with in 2021. It's gonna be really epic. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, no, they did so much too. Setting up.
And you have also collaborated with the Color Lab by Bella Kotek and Pratik Naik to release your own set of color toning actions in the Fairy Tale collection, which you shared just now briefly, of how you applied it to the man, the skeleton. would you say that it is important to remain diverse in the business of photography? Like for yourself, you release presets, tutorials online, running workshops and things like that, or is it just better to just stick to photography for the benefit of our audience at home? Because some of them might be considering branching out into other aspects of photography, not just being behind the camera, but being in front of everyone else on stage, for example.
Yeah, I do think it's nice to have multiple income streams. Like I know I mentioned this before that, there's retouching, there's shooting this, there's commercial. And I think just even having presets, it's a very good, the word's not inactive, but like background sort of income where you don't have to be active for it. Once it's there, people just purchase and go. So I do think there is a benefit to that. Workshops are a plus, I think. I think the downside perhaps to having presets and workshops is that there is such a saturation. It's very easy to get lost in the fray just because everyone's wanting to release actions now, right?
Yep.
But I think in terms of Bella's actions, she's very specifically targeted creative photography, and I think she's kind of dug out that little niche for herself, which is quite helpful. But in terms of workshops, I find that most people are quite attracted to hands-on workshops where they can apply the skills that they've learned like directly that day just to see what works for them, because I think skills aren't uniform. People will work through them in different ways, and there's always more than one way of approaching a problem. So I think if there's a workshop that teaches you a new skill set and you're able to actually try it with the perhaps suggestions and guidance of the person there, I think that always makes it more attractive, and I think that element makes it sell more. But I think presets are probably the easier way just to keep things inactive and in the background flowing for now.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I'm just gonna briefly go over to your Instagram account. You may not be able to see on your screen right now, but it's on the audience's screen. So if you have your secondary device where you can watch the stream, I just want to show your Instagram with the audience because I think it's absolutely brilliant. 104k followers, that's insane. And shout out to Dongdan, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I know it's kind of late in Australia, but here we are. 104k followers, verified page, so many things, but your number of posts is only 234. I can sense that you actually heavily curate your posts on Instagram. Yeah. And I totally love the fact that you actually share your behind the scenes. So I'm just gonna click on this. Let me see if it loads. There we go. So for those guys who are watching this right now, if you want to see some of the behind the scenes behind the scenes of your works, especially with the expectation versus reality, it's cool. It's really cool, and you can see the setup. It's all very surreal to see how it's set up. And bloody hell, the falcon is real. I thought it was a fake bird, but here we are. It's actually a real bird.
It's real.
It's real. And you go to some very amazing locations that you share with your audience, and it's just another chef's kiss, really.
Oh,
So
thank
if
you.
you guys are interested to see how she does her shoots and some of the expectations versus reality, some of the locations that she goes to, and a deeper insight, more detailed look at some of the costumes, props, accessories, and designers' works that come, that she picks to use for work, you can check out her Instagram as well under the behind the scenes section. And I think there's two categories. Yep, there's shoot BTS here and there's a BTS 2. So I think there's a lot of things you can check out as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cute.
It's just brilliant. Okay, so now that we've seen a little bit of your behind the scenes, do you think it's important to actually record this down for archival purposes or just to keep track?
I think so. I think a lot of people are very curious about behind the scenes, and they like seeing the project come to life because then it feels tangible to them. So I didn't used to take a lot of BTS videos, but now I make sure I take at least one. Even it doesn't have to be anything long, it could be 10 seconds, but it just gives people a little glimpse into kind of what really goes on. And I think that that's part of the charm, especially on Instagram. You have your final piece, but the stories and stuff, that sort of interaction where the people get to see a little bit more of who you are and stuff. I think that's always something that helps bring in some audience.
Yeah.
So.
And I guess at the end of the day, it's like a private exhibition of what goes on behind the scenes of your photos. And speaking of exhibitions, you actually have gone through some exhibitions as well for your works. For example, in your latest one here is on gender in the Far East in China with the Cultural Institution Gallery established by Dongguan Finding Cultural Communications Co., which is part of a large-scale exhibition titled Finding Art Space, established in 2015. Quick share, why do you do exhibitions?
Well, I would like to do more. That was one of the first ones. It was like just a small. It was part of a group thing, so it was like a few small pieces there. But I think I like exhibitions because it's nice to see your work tangible, right? And I never got to see this one, unfortunately, because it was so far.
Yeah.
But I think a part of it is just that tangible feeling of seeing your work in a collective or in a physical space. But the other thing is that having those credentials can open more doors for you, because unfortunately a lot of things in life are gated. So I think it's a little bit more of an outdated idea to me, but at least from a photographer's standpoint, I think some people still treat it as like a fine art sort of perspective. So if you were a traditional artist, you'd have your portfolio with all of your showings and stuff down there. And I think for a photographer, it makes sense to do the same. So it's also really nice for that. But also gallery, like exhibitions, I think also open up doors to you connecting with people in person as well, who might be interested in seeing your work, sometimes buying it, but mostly even just to meet you. And I think that's really nice. Yeah. I had one that was supposed to come up in November. That's not happening because of COVID.
Yeah.
So
where was it supposed to be?
I'm sorry?
Where was it supposed to be?
I was supposed to be in Vancouver. So yeah, and that was supposed to be only just my work, but COVID. So
yeah.
We shall see.
But out of curiosity, how do you get the funding for the exhibition? Do you know art houses engage you for your appearance, or is it something that comes out from your own pocket? Because I do have some people who do send me emails asking me like DMs like, hey, how to go and do exhibitions. I said I only did one and it was sponsored, so I don't know much about it. But I'm also curious myself. You know, how do we go about it?
Well, I find that generally, at least with some or many galleries, you have to be responsible for your own printing. So if you were to throw money, that would be where it goes. Yeah, I would say that everything else that you want to throw money at is secondary. Like some people want to upgrade their framing, some people want to have like a catering service even. Like I think it's all very secondary, but the most important thing is just to have that good print. But I don't think every gallery covers that for you. Yeah. Sometimes they might split the cost with you perhaps, but it's not quite common. But what a gallery sometimes might be able to offer is that if you pitched in a lot, they might not take way less of a cut if you end up selling something. Yeah. I think some people choose to exhibit for the purpose of selling. That's not really why I like to really approach galleries as a whole, but yeah, I would say you have to fund from your own pocket initially, especially if it's a smaller gallery too. Like they can't afford to pay for every artist's printing, right? You have to kind of do it yourself. Yep. But once you have it, you have it. So
there we go. So for those of you guys who actually are looking forward to creating your own exhibitions or running your own exhibitions, these are very helpful tips, because if you pitch right, I think you can go far. I think at the end of the day, it's about how you sell yourself. I think, is that a good way to say it? I think
yeah.
Ultimately, I think photographers have to be good salespeople as well.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And mathematicians.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look at a short trailer that shows you being the subject, being in front of the camera instead. This is something that I found quite some time ago. I think this is from 2018, if I'm not wrong. Matt Hickey, thank you so much for saying that he's loving this interview so far. It's brilliant being with Lillian here, who is currently suffering from sleep withdrawal symptoms because she woke up super early to be with us. It's right now about 7 a.m. I think the sun is up.
It's almost 7.
Almost 7. Okay, hang in there. We're almost done. Don't worry. Okay, let's take a look at this short trailer. Stand by. Wow. Shot with a Phase 1 camera, no less. That's brilliant. Let me just... There you go. Okay. So it's Bella is another amazing photographer and retouching artist, and her husband Pratik is just another fabulous gentleman who is so kind-hearted and so amazing. And you know, to see you guys work together, it just brings a lot of warmth. Truly warms the cockles of my heart, to be honest. It's really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you know, being the model here, I can see you look very serious, you look very fierce because the expression requires it for the final shot. But in between takes, you're like having fun, you're just chilling out and things like that. This is quite a stark contrast to the final image where you look very serious. You know, it gives me the Mulan vibes, you know. But there you are in between takes, having fun, you know, just chilling out. So I'm just curious, which one would you prefer, being a model in front of the camera or being the photographer behind the camera?
Photographer, absolutely. I mean, like, modeling is fun. I would say that, funny enough, I actually started doing that when I was feeling like my lowest too. I think there was like a period in time where I was just feeling very unhealthy, very kind of feeling a little sick a lot of the time, just like not so good, very lethargic, not eating very well. I think I was also 35-40 pounds heavier as well at the time, and then I was just treating my body very badly. And then so I was like, you know, what can I do to make myself feel better, and also practice, because I think that the in-camera experience also really is beneficial to a photographer, just to know what works and what doesn't.
Yep.
And what it's like. Just that kind of empathy and just experience is really helpful. So I started that, and then it just kind of just went, I guess. So yeah.
It evolved eventually.
Oh, thank you. And then so I would say initially it was just like because I was feeling so crappy that so I wanted to rework my perspective a little bit, and then now here we are. So
Yeah, and I think it's kind of cool that, you know, despite that feeling of negativity, you still punch through the wall and emerge on a very positive note, you know, to not just give up totally. Because I know some people, especially photographers out there, who have actually gone through the funk. They just go like, you know what, I'm gonna hang up my camera and sell it off on eBay. I'm quitting photography, and that's it, you know. But you decide to take a stand and chose to, you know, even though at your lowest, you still model, and then you go back into photography, and then you just continue shooting, and that's just amazing. But curious to ask, and in fact, Nialef actually asked the same question as what I'm gonna ask you now. Has your experience working as a model helped you further along in your journey as a photographer?
Oh, absolutely. I think so. I think that's one of the main things that helps a lot, because I still do like pose for like photographers and stuff. I wouldn't call myself really like a big model or anything, but you know, I do that sometimes. But I think just having that experience really helps me understand what I need to do to help my models kind of shine. So if I'm ever there and I'm feeling like, okay, I need some direction here, then I make note of it. I'm like, okay, I need to make sure that my models are covered here, or I kind of think of little tricks or ways to sit perhaps and stuff, just, you know, little things like that, and I can give that same piece of advice for my models.
Yeah, brilliant.
I would say it's really helped a lot.
I guess at the end of the day, you putting yourself in the shoes of the model, you have a better and clearer understanding of how the process is like from being in front of the lens as opposed to being just a photographer, and that helps you better as a creative, as a craftsman, or craft lady as well. Then now, for the benefit of those who may encounter something similar, have you ever worked with clients, either as a model or as a photographer, who ask for too much?
Clients for sure. I would say in terms of collaborating, people are generally, we're just all crazy. We just do what we want, and we sometimes do too much, and that's okay because we want to do it. I would say, yeah, I've had clients who wanted too much, but I was never really good at putting my foot down, but I did recently, and I'm very proud of myself.
Well done.
Yeah, I think one example of it was someone wanted a styling and shoot and stuff, but they required me to go on a ferry and like travel to them and stuff. But then all the styling and sourcing, I'd have to go and drive to warehouses, put down like cash deposits, and then drive back, and then everything. And it was so much for a very little amount that I was thinking, okay, this is not fair. I might have to revamp my policies here. And it was a learning experience. And I think they were a little bit cheesed about it because they were thinking, oh, maybe you're not taking me seriously, right? When I say I want this. But then I realized that if I put in all of this work, this is more than like 72 hours of just travel to different points and then like shipping and everything, and it just no,
not worth it.
So
not worth it.
But I think most of the time clients actually have been quite respectful. I think they know, most people now have a sense of awareness of, you know, how much can you ask for, but there are always the ones that want to ask for too much. So
And how would you manage those expectations of theirs if it does get too much? Do you tell them no, or you present alternatives? Anything?
I think funny enough, my boss in my music school actually taught me this when it comes to piano students who ask for too much. Is a kind of a thing that I transferred over here. And what they were saying was that don't ever do negative, because negative, you know, doesn't encourage them, right? It brings them down a little bit. You can always agree and then tell them what it would take to get there. Like, for example, if a kid is like, I'm going to do this level piano in this amount of years, and you can tell them, of course, you need this, and this. You break it down for them, and they'll see, and then they'll be able to gauge whether that is truly feasible or not, right? And I think in the photography world, you could be like, of course, this would take this amount of time, this, and this is what we will need. And they will realize, oh yeah, that's perhaps a little too much work, or that'll take too long. Or they might start to understand why it's priced at a certain point if you actually do breakdown for them.
Yep. And I think that's very important with any form of invoices, to give the itemized breakdown so people know where their money's going, and this can actually somehow help manage expectations. Brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
And right now, because of COVID-19, we do have some delays and even postponements, indefinite postponements of jobs and work. But there's always this saying, you know, how regardless whether it's the COVID-19 pandemic period or not, people are always saying that photography is a sunset business. Would you agree?
Yes and no. I think it's certainly become cheapened in a way because of how accessible it's become. So in a way, perhaps people are making less or something, or it's harder to perhaps build a clientele. But I think it's actually a very exciting time for photography, just because with all of these, with the whirlwind speed of how tech is advancing, like every 5 years even, let alone 10 years, 15, right? So I think there's a lot of new possibilities that are just starting out right now, new conveniences as well. And I think it's really taking the craft to a new level, especially with software and everything, and just worlds blending together. So I do see perhaps there being a struggle to put your foot in, perhaps, but as a whole, I don't think it's dying. It's just more competitive. So yeah.
And that's fine. Competition does breed innovation sometimes. You just need to get on top of the game, I guess, from time to time. But do you ever come across issues like looking at a competition, you just go like, oh, I wish I could do that, and you just follow through with a little bit of a envy perhaps, or maybe like start second guessing yourself or anything like that?
Oh yeah, always. I'm always looking through people's work and being like, wow, wow, I can't do that, right? It's because I'm often just so struck by people who have a very different set of skills than mine, just because some things just don't come naturally to me. Like I can only wish to do like all those crazy, wacky, surrealist composites. I can't do that.
Yep.
Like I don't have the skills for that, right? Or even like a very simple but emotive black and white. You know, it's like my brain will just immediately go in and just add a whole bunch of stuff. But there's a beauty to minimalism, and that just my brain doesn't work that way. So yeah, there's a lot of times where I'm very much admiring what's out there.
And I guess eventually you start to break down how they work, and then you try to recreate. Would you do that as well?
Break down the way they
the image, deconstruct it, or perhaps.
Sometimes I might think about it, but then I realize that it's just so unnatural to me to perhaps do that I just don't bother, right? But sometimes if I want to create something similar, I might try it out. But I just end up going back to like my old way. So maybe it's like a creature of habit again. But yeah, I'm just not very good at certain things.
It's okay. I mean, like what you are capable of is something I've always hoped I can achieve someday myself. But let's say right now, because of the lockdown and all that, would you say that this has actually given you time to contemplate and look at your or reflect at your standards of work, and then you see how you can actually refine processes or change things, or do you just go like, you know what, good time for a break?
Well, I've been mostly bitter that I can't do any like new projects. But you know, at the same time, it's made me realize that okay, which projects do I actually want to do, right? And what things actually mean a lot to me, right? Because I've done a lot of shoots. I think I would say I haven't posted all of my shoots on my Instagram or like Facebook or anything. But I've realized that the ones I end up taking down are the ones I've been kind of lukewarm about anyway. Back when I was shooting for quantity more so than quality, because I wanted to beef up my portfolio at the time. And I realized that the things that I put more care in are still in my portfolio. And the things that were kind of one-offs, some of them are still in there because I like them. But you know, if I don't feel the intention behind it, they're gone, right? So I would say right now it's kind of to the point where I'm realizing that I have priorities. I didn't used to know I had priorities. I mean, I did, but I didn't honor my priorities. I just did whatever. So now I'm like
more conscious of your priorities. So would you say that you are your own toughest critic?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, you know, like like I said before, it's a biannual thing where I just want to delete everything.
Yep.
Always. Because I haven't created a lot of new work right now. I'm going through that right now. I'm looking at my work just being like sometimes. So yeah.
Okay, so we're actually at the tail end of the interview, and it's been great so far. You know, I wouldn't want to take up too much time. I probably think you should take a bit of rest again later on, because it's still a full day ahead for yourself right now. But for the audience at home, if you've got any questions, we can limit to a few maybe before we call it an evening. But Lillian, do you have any advice to the audience, to anyone who's aspiring to become a professional photographer such as yourself?
I think the best, I know that people always say, read up on tutorials, read this, and I think that's really important. But another aspect that I seriously underestimated when I first started, that I'm like, no, this is valuable right now, is establishing good relationships and connections, because that's how the world runs, right? So if you need good models, maybe you need to establish a good relationship with an agency for experienced models, especially if you're first starting out, so you don't have to worry about the model the whole time. You can just work with someone who knows what they're doing, right? Or if you need a good makeup artist or hairstylist to collaborate with, you have a set of people that you enjoy being with, but also they share a wavelength in terms of thinking. Or designers, you realize that people need things shot. Okay, well, this is what I can offer you. So I think people skills, and not just technical skills, I would say, is something that's very crucial, especially when it comes to sourcing models, I think.
Yep, brilliant.
That's my probably biggest tips.
Those are really, really significant real world tips that need to be applied. You know, building relationships ultimately is one of the best ways to actually get your own portfolio to move around in the industry, because at the end of the day, people like working with nice people. I think that's just pretty much it. Yeah. Nialef asks, what are your next plans for your photography? What do you have in mind? Let's say COVID-19 just disappears over time, and then people found a vaccine or a cure, and it's safe to go out again. What would be your immediate plan?
Yeah, well, I'd probably get back on that exhibit that got pushed a little bit. I'm thinking about, because of that exhibit, I was thinking maybe of adding like a small workshop in there perhaps. I've never actually done workshops and stuff like that before, but I've been asked to sometimes. So I'm thinking maybe that's a cool thing to at least try out and implement to see if it's something for me. Never know until you do it.
Exactly.
My wish / hope, I don't know how soon this will be. My wish / hope is to be able to curate specifically for photo book, like large sets. So that's something in the future. And what's next is probably in the immediate future, though, probably is just catching up on everything that got canceled this year and all the projects that I have like sketches for and stuff. So
Brilliant.
but I hope in the near future.
Hopefully we can have life sorted out, and hopefully 2020's curse will be lifted soon, because I really think there's some voodoo magic that's affecting this entire year. It's been a very interesting 2020, I would say. Let's just hope that 2021 will be a lot better for everyone, including yourself as well. I really hope that you can shoot again, and I really love to see your more additions to your portfolio, because it's always inspiring to see your work. I don't know how many times I say that today. I think this is my 57th time probably.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it's truly been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for spending time and for waking up very early to join us. I think it's insane.
3 in the morning.
3 in the morning. That's crazy. But here we are, and I'm very, very glad that we actually managed to catch up, because it's truly an honor to actually be able to speak to you directly in person, even though it's we are not in person, but because Zoom is awesome just like that. Yeah. And being a long time fan of your work, it's truly my privilege to actually have you come and grace my show. Thank you so much for this evening.
Oh, thank you. This was so fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. And
there's like daylight now too.
Like daylight. I heard some seagulls just now, I think, in the background. Do you stay near some coastal area or something with the seagulls all around?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, my neighbors are actually 2 seagulls. There's Poof and there's Puff, and they live on the chimneys. So, yeah, we've probably heard them. So they're very sweet.
Okay, I'm gonna do someone here a favor, because Emily is actually my mentee. She's my student for photography for the longest time. She's been working with us. Yeah. I'm gonna make this very special. I'm gonna surprise her. So, Lillian, do you have any personal words for Emily?
Of course. Emily, your creative world is stunning. It's full of imagination, and you have a great eye for detail, and that's something I've noticed in your work. Every detail is intentional, and it adds to your image. So I think that's one of your strengths, and your other strength is actually your sense of color. I think you have a really, really beautiful eye for color and for palettes and stuff. So I think that's probably the one thing that I find the most striking, and it truly makes your work stand out. So you're definitely on the right track here. And I think your work needs a bigger audience, because I think you're this little hidden gem that has so much to offer. And I think it's truly, what you do is truly stunning. So you should be very proud of yourself.
Brilliant. That's just amazing words for one of your biggest fans from Singapore. Emily is saying that she's crying.
Cute. It is beautiful. Her work is so stunning.
She's amazing, and her sense of humor is just it's just brilliant as well. Except for the times where we both argue about using May 2. And Emily is actually surprised that you actually use May 2. The other day you showed me something on May 2, and maybe you can just share with her directly. But it's quite funny how we talk about having the V-shaped chins and all that stuff. But
oh yeah, I discovered May 2, I think it was last year or something, and it was so funny. But also my self-esteem just went like this.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah, Me Too is just out of whack. Well, anyway, thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I really hope that someday in the future we'll run into each other or meet up each other in person when COVID-19 is totally blown away. Hopefully we can meet up. I really would love to meet up with a lot of people out there in the creative industry on the other side of the planet, because there's just so many amazing people I'd love to connect with. Yourself, Bella, Pratik, of course. Just so many people,
Yes.
and I really hope that I can have that opportunity someday, and I'll drag Emily along as well. If I have to inside a baggage, I will do it. All right, thank you so much, Lillian. I'll see you when I see you. I'll just do the closing for the show. All right, I'll speak to you on Facebook in private messenger and just do a wrap up later on. All right, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Alright, so for those of you who are watching at home, if you guys want to show support for the channel, perhaps what you can do is, of course, show your support by using the Razor Tip stream here to actually give yourself a little bit of or rather to give some support for the channel. Okay, let's just make it simple. So basically, if you use Razor Shards through Razor Gold, you can actually get Razor Silver, which you can use to redeem all this epic Razor gear and loot. And we're talking about keyboards, headsets, mice, and things like that. And every single cent that goes in goes a long way to help support this channel. And otherwise, if you do not want to, you can always just hit follow and subscribe button at the bottom left. Oh, rather, sorry, bottom right of the screen. Oops. And if you can, please tell the whole world and share with your friends about this channel as well. Now, of course, some of you guys have been writing into me and asking me whether it's possible to do tutorials and online webinars and workshops on things like Capture One and Photoshop and things like that, live retouching and things like that. Yeah, I will probably do that soon. And like I said earlier in this episode, I will actually start looking into the possibility of shifting Saturday episodes to Friday instead, because I would love to have a weekend and have a life. Okay, so anyway, this is Loom Cube's website again, once more, in case you missed it just now. This is the brand that is represented by, or rather which Lillian represents as an ambassador. They do have some very interesting lighting source or lighting equipment, and I think, let me see if I can find the exact model that Lillian uses. She uses a cube panel, I think, and they are really awesome. A lot of good reviews and things like that. And if you guys want to have a go-to product that can fit into your bag and travel around with it and have a source of light, without having to worry about sunlight and things like that, or having a small little feel or just a hairlight and things like that, go ahead. I think the Loom Cube is the mini panel, the panel mini rather, is something that is worth looking into. And for those of you guys who are streaming as well, you might want to look into some of these products as well, because some people, they just could do with more lighting for their streaming, because it does make a very big difference. I mean, like, check this out. Okay, I have one light here and I look much better. I look decent. Okay, so anyway, again, a shout out as always to the PPAS, or the Professional Photographers Association of Singapore. I'm just gonna get Friday to share the schedule again.
Satellite link established.
There we go. Alright, so this is the PPS website, the Professional Photographers Association of Singapore. If you guys want to join as members, you can actually do so here under the join section. And I think one of the best things about the PPS right now is that they do have access to the resource page, which you can use if you're a professional photographer or even a hobbyist. Because this kind of things, like for example the COVID-19 resource page, is very helpful, especially for those of you guys who are actually shooting commercially in a studio. It's very important that you follow the COVID-19 safety protocol so that every little thing that you do does not result in another outbreak of a COVID-19 cluster, because we did have that in the studio previously before the circuit breaker, and we just want to avoid that from we just want to prevent that from happening. And this is very important, because if you can keep everyone in your crew safe, you can keep yourself safe, you can keep your clients safe, then we can all continue shooting, etc, etc. We do not want to go back into phase 1 of circuit breaker, or even go back into lockdown, because that is just terrible. Okay, it's bad business all around. There is also I think a form that you can use, which is somewhere around here. But basically the form actually is something that you can do to include in your pre-shoot, so that you can have a better and easier way for contact tracing. And this is very important because in case there's an outbreak, at least we'll be better prepared and we can isolate the personnel who are infected. This Saturday I do not have a upcoming guest because we couldn't align a schedule with one of the supposed guests. So so what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna skip this Saturday, but I will stream. I'll try streaming on the rest of the days with actual live retouching, most probably on Friday, because on Thursday something's gonna happen. Okay, let me just share what's gonna happen on Thursday evening at 6 p.m. I will not be able to join you guys online per se, but I'm still trying to sort out the details because let me see, where is it? I'll be part of this event in Serbia called Photorama Fest alongside Seth, Dennis, and Rennie. You can see them over here. Where is my gallery? Oh, it's in. Let me change to English so at least I can see and read properly. Okay, my link is not up yet, but I think it's under here because I'll be sharing. Oh, bloody hell. Oh, there we go. On the 6th of August, you can see it over here. At 12 p.m. Serbian time, which is 6 p.m. Singapore time, I'll be going live to talk a bit about how I run my live stream show. So this is actually something that's very interesting for those of you guys who are doing live streaming, and if you're a photographer, you may want to watch as well, because I'll share some tips and tricks on how to do my live streams and how to get things up and running and make sure you have a jolly good time streaming. Okay, and I just want to do a quick shout out. Sorry, mouth is dry and I got a little bit of flu coming up. There is this community that's coming up called Twitch Photography, and I'm just gonna share the link here. All are invited if you're doing photography streams. This is started by some folks in the community, like Mikey, Mike, yeah. So you can actually join in as well. It's open to all photographers who stream, and it'll be quite interesting to see more folks out there join us in this community. So you have, let me just share the screen so you can see what's going on here. So we have quite a few channels. We can see that streamers are able to share that they're online. You also can see there's a photography channel, so you can share your works, and there's also a critique section here, so you can actually have critique by fellow photographers in the community. So this is something that's really cool, and I think it will benefit those of you guys who are out there looking for communities to be with. And I think it's just amazing that we have like-minded individuals coming together for the first time on Discord to talk about anything photography. Okay, so anyway, with that, I would like to say thank you for joining me this evening. Sorry if I sound a bit nasal and a bit sickly because I've been quite under the weather recently, but I'll see you guys on Friday evening at 8 p.m. right? And if you guys want to, you can actually join me at Photorama Festival, where I talk about live streaming at 6 p.m. I do not know the address yet. I'll present it on my Facebook page or on my Twitter. I'll just blast it on my social media as well. So oh yes, speaking of social media, I'm not sure if I linked it just now, but I'll link it again. This is Lillian Liu's Instagram, so do follow her. Alright, be part of the army. It's amazing. Her works are just brilliant. Alright, and with that, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'll see you when I see you. Take care of yourself, stay safe. Alright, bye bye. Yeah, no sucks.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the
3. 1, 2.